Welcome back to the Club Calling Show, brought to you by Sky Bet. If you want to get involved, click the link down below to join our Discord. We're on to the first caller.
Right, let's get stuck in. We're going to speak to Miru, a Tottenham fan, who I imagine is going to be fairly
ecstatic,
upbeat. Jubilant, excited. How are you, Miru?
I'm good.
Congratulations on the Europa League win.
Meet you. Yeah, it took a long time, but it's here. It's finally here.
Yeah.
My topic for today is Tottenham's top 3 legends of the modern era are Son, Ledley King, and Gareth Bale.
And presumably Harry Kane?
He's there, of course. I would say he's number 4 on that list. And I have my reasons for that.
Okay.
I think Ledley King is self-explanatory. He captained us to a League Cup win. It was called the Carling Cup, if you remember. And he was a one club man, so that's pretty self-explanatory. Then Son, we know what Son has done for this club, and he is, in essence, a testimony of what the club has been in the last 10, 20 years. You know, he was loyal when we didn't have players that wanted to stay. He was loyal after Poch left, when Nuno was our coach, when Kane wanted out, he's stuck with us and he stayed and signed the contract extension. He avoided military service for South Korea, and clubs like Bayern came for him, but he didn't want to entertain them because Spurs showed him a loyalty and he repaid us back. So I think that's pretty self-explanatory again. Then we come to Bale, and the reason I put Bale above Kane for me is 3 reasons. 1, he was the best player in his peak to play for our club. I think arguably he is above everybody else. 2, he carried this team and made us a European team. He put us on the map on Europe, I would say, because before this, if you remember, the Premier League had 4 teams: Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, and Manchester United. It was called the traditional 4. And then City came in with their big money, and in those times, Bale was the one carrying us. Bale and Harry Redknapp's team with Van der Vaart and Modric and all these people. But it was Bale, the talisman, and he took us as far as he could alone. So that's the second reason. And the third reason is for Harry Kane. He was not effective in his moments when he needed to be. He also wanted out so many times before going back on his words. And we can argue that it was Levy who gave him a gentleman's agreement and all that. But at the end of the day, what Kane could not do, Bale did. Bale took us to Europa League semi-finals. I don't know if you recall this, but we played against FC Basel. And that was one of Basel's best team. They had Salah, they had Xherdan Shaqiri, all these guys.
Yeah, we played them as well, yeah.
And you know, right, and he got injured in the second leg and he went out and we lost on pens. But he dragged us that far alone. So for that reason, I put him third. But
yeah, I think it's interesting, Miri. I think you've made the points really well. I think you've argued your points. I personally, if I was looking, and look, you will have far more detailed, far more encyclopedic knowledge on Tottenham than I will. You're a Tottenham fan, I'm not. But I was slightly baffled to not hear Harry Kane's name in the top 3 of the modern era, wouldn't you?
Over who of the 3 that he named? Out of interest, because I think he's had good shouts for all 3.
He's made the point really well. I agree with you.
Ledley King, a one club man.
I personally, I think you could easily argue Harry Kane over any of the 3 for what he did for Tottenham.
Over Son, for actually winning, staying in his prime and then winning a trophy, which Harry Kane left in his prime and won a trophy somewhere else.
I mean, look, I'm wrong. Miru is definitely right. It's his club. He knows the club better than I do.
Yeah.
But from the outside looking in, I'm very surprised to not hear Harry Kane's name. What about you, Boo?
I think Kane was a better player than Son. I think prime Kane, you could argue he's the greatest striker in the history of the Premier League. You could argue, I don't think he is personally, but he's top 5, top 10 easily. In terms of Spurs legends, I mean, you're always going to have certain players that are, legendary for your club that maybe aren't world class. So I think Ledley King is more of a Spurs legend than Harry Kane, because he won a trophy at the club. He's a one-club man. He is Mr. Tottenham through and through. Son's won the trophy. He stayed in his prime years. And then the other one is Gareth Bale, and Gareth Bale's better than Harry Kane. So, and he got them 100 million quid and went to Real Madrid.
Is Gareth Bale definitely better than Harry Kane when you see what Gareth Bale did at Madrid? Absolutely. But when you look at what Kane's done at Bayern Munich, is overall, I know it's difficult to compare, but is the way that you said that quite frankly and almost flippantly, is it definitely accurate?
I think there's an argument. Bale's the greatest British footballer of all time. I think you'd have a real tough argument to even say Kane's the greatest English footballer of all time, let alone British.
Yeah, interesting. Miru, where do you sit on the Postecoglou debate? I'm hearing that there's a chance that he's going to be sacked soon.
Yeah. For me, I was edged out, but the thing is, I didn't know what winning was like. So after winning, I've changed my mind, and I think he should get another chance. I know the league form has been terrible, but come on, how many managers have we had?
You lost 22 league games. That gets you relegated in 95% of Premier League seasons, 22 league games.
Every single season.
So, majority of league seasons.
Mate, nobody's ever survived losing 22 games.
It's ridiculous.
Nobody's ever survived. But Miru, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Nagaland, India.
Wow, we have gone totally insane.
Global.
Love that.
It's fantastic.
Love that. So what do you think? Very briefly, Miru, just before we let you go. Not your opinion on it, not what you want to happen. What do you think will happen? Will Ange Postecoglou lead Tottenham into the new season?
Yes, I think he will stay because Daniel Levy cannot risk sacking him now when the entire fan base, all the players are supporting him. So I think he will stay.
Okay, thank you so much for your call, Miru. You really argued your points well because I disagreed with you, but you basically had me bang to rights. I didn't agree with your points, but I didn't agree with the players, but I couldn't argue with it because he argued it so well.
I think he might be wrong about the Ange thing, and that's just down to the sheer amount of rumours I'm seeing about him leaving.
Also, it's emotional. Any Tottenham fan at the moment, off the glory of what happened in Bilbao, is just going to be just emotional and saying keep him. Yeah. Should we go back to the lines?
Right, next up we've got Will, a big Chelsea fan. How you doing, Will?
Hi guys, how you doing? You all right?
Yeah, good
fantastic.
mate. How are you?
Yeah, very good, thank you. All good. Oh, this is a moment.
Yeah, mate. It's an honour to have you on. You've been a club OG.
I certainly have been. Yeah, on the way to work every Thursday, got it on.
Oh, mate, you're very kind.
Show, absolute fanatic I am. So yeah, pleasure to be on, boys. Thank you for having me.
Mate, that's very kind as well. We really appreciate the support. You're a Chelsea fan, I hear. Not only do you have wise taste in podcasts, you have wise taste in football teams.
Yeah, we do. We have something in common, Rory. Yeah, that's right. But I feel like you might not agree with my my stance on the Chelsea ownership. I listen in. Absolutely love your stuff, Rory. But I don't see why you don't like the Chelsea ownership.
Okay, tell me why you do.
So I think starting when they came in, around about 2021, 22, I want to say, Chelsea were in a bit of a dire straits with Roman Abramovich. We hadn't sort of made a bid for the title in 3 to 4 years. I know we got the Champions League win, but that was a bit of a fluke out of nowhere, really. The league form was poor under Frank Lampard. We needed a total squad rebuild. Everyone was axed virtually. And yeah, I think since they've come in, they've had some bad decisions, but also some good ones. I think you're starting to see the team really coming together now with Caicedo, Reece James, if he can stay fit. Palmer. There's multiple examples of how this signing young is an optimal way to go forward. We've seen PSG take a similar approach. Man United are buying young now. I know it's not going well for them, but for us, it seems to be on an upward trajectory. And I just think that despite an initial failing with Todd Bowley making himself the chairman, calling the shots, they're not afraid to admit their mistakes.
And sporting director.
Yeah.
And sporting director. The man who's never worked in European sport before in his life made himself Chelsea sporting director.
Absolutely. There's been some horrible mistakes, but I think given the fact they've never owned a football club before, they're big guys, they're wealthy people. They think they know everything. But when they brought these Paul Winstanley and Lawrence Stewart in, I think we've been on the rise. I really do, and I back this ownership to get us to not only Champions League football, which we've just got ourselves into, but next season I expect a title bid. I know Buvey's probably making some strange faces at me right now.
You're very, very wise.
How do you know that?
Yeah, you're a
title bid.
Man. Yeah, I knew you'd be doing that as well.
Title bid.
But no,
I love it. He talks about the ownership, and one of the players that he mentioned was there before the ownership came in, Reece James.
Yeah,
it's like 2 players, by the way. You mentioned 2.
No.
2 in 4 years.
James,
you mentioned
Reece James. He's keeping fit under this new ownership. I think it's nothing to do.
It's nothing to do with Todd Bowley, is it? I mean, he's a fantastic footballer.
But
that's not the ownership's. You can't give.
Do you know what I would say here though? Will, when you say the certain things that you kind of mentioned about where the ownership are getting right, you said that the buying young model has maybe been validated by what Paris Saint-Germain did. And it's interesting because, yes, that does seem to be working. Of course, you could argue that it worked for Chelsea, but there is a key component of the PSG team that is lacking at Chelsea, and we don't seem to explore ever doing this. Part of the reason that PSG was so good was obviously the prodigious unpredictability of Desiree Doué, but it was also having a player as stable and experienced as Marquinhos at the back, having a player as experienced and stable as Donnarumma in goal. We don't do that. Like, we have zero interest in signing anyone who could potentially be our modern day Thiago Silva, our modern day Michael Ballack.
Yeah.
And I think that is a flaw. That is a flaw in this model, because I think you need that kind of experience.
Yeah, I don't, I'm not 100%, backing them. I just think that your opinion of them is out. Get them out, but I don't think that way.
My opinion is less get them out. It is get them out, but it would also be amend and see where you're getting it wrong and sign a 28-year-old. Don't put season ticket prices up by another 6%, which has just happened. Don't try and force Chelsea out of Stamford Bridge, our spiritual home. Don't do many. It's not only get them out. I don't like the way that they're conducting business, but it's not a personal thing. It's not. I don't want Todd Boehly out because I care about Todd Boehly per se. I want Todd Boehly to either go out or amend his policy.
But do you not think that spine, that experience will come with time? Caicedo, he's going to be that kind of player for us.
Caicedo's a world class. Caicedo's a borderline world class footballer, no doubt. But I don't think we can really give the ownership the credit for that. There was no secret out there. It wasn't like we went and scouted Caicedo. He was clearly the best available, best in class midfielder in the Premier League when he was for sale. This was an obvious tap in that the ownership went and spent the money, of course, but this wasn't part of the Winstanley Stewart model. It was the best in class midfielder that was available.
But the players that we are scouting that we've missed out on, for example, I don't know how in touch with the links you are, but Doué was one of our players that we were scouting. Duran, we've got lists of players who we are Elise. I know you can say they're tap-ins now, but you see when players go to clubs like Chelsea's ilk, to Man United, they fail. These players have gone on to do masterful things. Doué, look what he's done the other day. Like,
so what? Why is the Chelsea fan taking credit for Doué? Sorry, just
no, because we were linked with him.
We were linked.
Oh, so you're talking about a link to Doué?
Our sporting directors aren't idiots. That's what I'm trying to say. That they're linked to these players because they know they see things.
The other thing that the PSG ownership did was appoint a manager who was clearly elite, clearly experienced, clearly proven. What's the justification for appointing manager after manager? Potter, no experience, no proven track record. Maresca, no experience, no proven track record. What's the justification in that? You've rationalised it. You've made a good case as to why it works as when we approach our signing of players like that. How do you justify appointing these inexperienced managers, particularly if you compare it to Paris Saint-Germain, who went for Luis Enrique?
Yeah, but I mean, there's countless times of where PSG have got it wrong with managers as well. It's very, some might say easy to go into Ligue 1 and win the league, but none of them could get the Champions League over the line. We were in for Luis Enrique. For whatever reason, we didn't sign him. I do not know. But we've decided to go down this route, and I think you can see that with Arsenal. They're making progress, albeit I'm not buying into it. That we are taking this new Pep Guardiola style of football and trying to make it ourselves with Enzo Maresca. And I think that's just where football is right now. That's the state of football.
Just one more thing, Will. When we were talking and you spoke about the trouble that the team were in under Abramovich, and you spoke about the Champions League win, and I think the word you used was a fluke. We fluked our way to a Champions League win and a World Club Cup. Why was this season's relative success? Why is that not a fluke, and the Champions League was?
Well, I mean, you make a good point, but there's no. Chelsea's 2 times of winning the Champions Leagues, we've been, if not, terrible in the league, and we've sort of made a manager change, and it's all happened for us. Whereas I think this year, Chelsea can go and do that, by the way, to anyone. That's just the DNA of Chelsea. We win trophies no matter what happens. We win trophies, and I think we're going to see that more with how this season wasn't a fluke. I think you're seeing a growing Chelsea that start of the year we were flying. Maresca sort of got it a bit wrong in the middle section, and then we really started to professionalise in the last 10 games. So I don't think you can call it a fluke when Maresca found something, and you've got to give him this credit for that, because he found something that made us stronger, more defensively stable. Yeah, we weren't amazing going forward, but 1-0 wins, I'm not going to complain.
No. Mate, it's the way to do it. We were very professional, and I agree that he got it right towards the end. It would be interesting this season.
That's Chelsea, isn't it? 1-0 wins, strong at the back, and get a goal going forward. And I think Liam Delap will definitely help with that.
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy about that.
So yeah,
did you just just so you know, Will, you might not have picked up on this, but I'm sitting next to the main man, and I believe that he's just your comment about Liam Delap, by the way, which completely chimes with the way I see the situation. I completely agree with you. I think it's a good signing. I just saw Buvey didn't even resort to words and punctuation. He literally replied to you with nothing more than an exhale.
I just couldn't believe what he was sort of going on about, to be honest. With all due respect,
he gave you an exhale. That's all you're worth, Will. A disgusted exhale. It's
Chelsea Football Club, and you're happy with 1-0 wins. I thought you were really poor in the back end of the season. I know you got your job done. But I mean, Liam Delap, I don't know if he's the right signing. You've got to take
these though, Buvey.
You've got to take small wins. I'm not saying you're going to beat Guardiola's Barcelona in 2011. No. I'm not saying that. But I don't know. I look at it and think, I don't know. I think Chelsea should be a little bit further along in the process. I think you're giving them a little bit too much credit, particularly when you talk about Caicedo as if he's a £5 million gamble signing. You spent over £100 million on him. Do you know what I mean? And he's a fantastic player, but
cheap, is it? Yeah.
No, I think you need to have a little bit more of a look at the ownership and think, actually, we should be a little bit further along the line.
A great call. Where are you calling from, Will?
Kettering, if you know.
Kettering. My nan was evacuated there during the war.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
amazing.
Fascinating news for everyone on the club.
Yeah.
You'll never forget where you were when
Kettering
you heard the
town,
news.
Yeah?
Kettering and
I don't think he's from Kettering town.
She went to Kettering in South Wales, if you want to know.
Yeah.
He did say Kettering, didn't he?
Is he say
Paul Gascoigne's managed Kettering town. That's our claim to fame.
Love it.
Right.
Love that. And obviously Shirley Jennings got evacuated there in 1940.
Exactly that. Yeah. We'll put that on our
Get a little blue plaque erected for that. Thank you so much for your call, Will.
Cheers,
really
guys.
Good to talk to you, mate. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers. Bye. Speak to you again soon, I hope. Interesting from Will there. See, that approach there that was demonstrated by Will, fairly supportive of the manager, fairly supportive of the owner, fairly supportive of the process, supportive of this buy young model. I think it's cutting through. Not with me. I'm just furious that they've put season ticket prices up by 6%.
Well, and there's so many big gaps in the side. I don't think you're going to challenge for the title next season.
It just feels like yesterday to me. You know how Will there was.
6 years.
It's because Will's a glass half full kind of guy. But you see how he was talking about, the 1-0 wins, maybe beating Liverpool towards the end of the season, that massive victory we got away at Craven Cottage. Do you know what I can't shake? It feels like yesterday to me that we were getting beat at Portman Road. It just yesterday,
yeah.
So we'll have to see. Let's go to the phone. Oh, no. I've just seen on the notes. It says James, which is fine. Nice name. Regal. But it also says Arsenal fan.
Big Arsenal fan. How you doing, James?
I'm good, guys. How are you?
I'm good, man. Yeah, very good.
Good to talk to you, James. How are you getting on?
I'm good. I'm a big fan of you guys for years, so it's an honour to speak to you guys.
Oh, that's incredibly kind, James. Thank you so much. We really do appreciate you saying that, and also massively appreciate you finding the time. I love the fact that Sky Bet have given us this opportunity.
Brilliant show.
I love it.
Engaging with fans on a real level.
Yeah, if it wasn't for Sky Bet, we wouldn't be doing this. So thank you so much to them, and thank you so much for getting in touch, James. What's on your mind?
Simone Inzaghi. Obviously, we all saw that Champions League final. I mean, yeah, he'll probably never live that down, but I think he still deserves a massive amount of credit for the work he's done, not only this season, I know they finished trophyless, but the last 5 years in general. I don't think any top-flight manager would accept the financial conditions that Simone Inzaghi's had to work under. And, I know how that final went out, but I still think he's done an incredible job. And the fact that he even got to that Champions League final is a miracle.
I don't disagree with the word you said.
It's a brilliant point. It's a brilliant comment. Because we're sat here watching the Champions League final together, and you're sat there saying, I think Inter Milan are going to win. and they've got Çalhanoğlu in midfield.
Yeah, Mkhitaryan.
And they've got a Cherby who's 37 years old. And you think it's a bit of a hodgepodge squad of a few rejects and a few, players on the outskirts of their kind of prime years. And we're saying they can beat PSG.
Yeah.
And it's a fair prediction because they're a big club and he's got them back to that level with what sort of money are they spending? It's not much.
No.
Is it? Let's be real. It's not much.
I'll tell you. So in the 5 years that he's been a manager, his net transfer spend is plus 110 million euros.
In 5 years?
Whereas PSG's is a minus 518 million euros.
Oh, plus. I see what you mean.
He's made profit.
They've made 100 million.
Yeah. He's made a margin.
Yeah.
He's made 20 million quid a year.
That's huge, James. You've come with that's huge. That's a huge point to raise.
He's the 241st club in the list of all European clubs in terms of transfer expenditure.
It's
PSG
crazy.
Are number 3.
Effectively, what you're saying there, like I think worldwide, that makes him pound for pound the best manager. If you look, we will always talk about trophies, and therefore Luis Enrique, of course. But if I don't, but if you do view football through the lens of business, being a business, this makes him one of the best managers in the world, undoubtedly.
Of course.
He's turned £100 million profit with a football club. Football clubs never turn a profit.
No, on some level, he's beaten Barcelona in the semi-final. That is winning the Champions League for that level of spend. In modern football, what Barcelona spend on players, these guys have spent... There was a period of time they spent 450 million quid on 3 players, on Griezmann, Coutinho, Dembele,
absolutely.
across a couple of years.
£500 million. £500 million.
And their side now is a little bit different.
James, how highly do you rate Inzaghi then? What are you thinking here? Like, if you were to do the best managers in the world, we'll start with Pep Guardiola. Presumably, you agree with that statement?
Pep, yeah, of course. Luis Enrique, you have to give him his flowers. Yeah. There's no doubt about that. I think he's better than Antonio Conte. I'm sorry, Antonio Conte can't manage in Europe.
Yeah, it's true.
He isn't.
Conte wins league titles. Inzaghi's bottled 2 of the last 3 titles on the final day of the season. That's not better than Conte. I'm sorry, but he's top 10. But he's not above Conte, is he? Conte's just won a league title.
Antonio Conte, when he was Inter Milan manager for 2 seasons, couldn't get out the group stages of the Champions League.
But he won them a league title, didn't he? Their first in 10 years.
To be a top manager, don't you have to compete at all levels?
Has Inzaghi competed with? If you're saying competed, he's not won the Champions League either. Conte hasn't won the Champions League. He's done better in the Champions League than Conte, no doubt. You're right about that. But he still hasn't won the Champions League himself. He's lost 2 finals. At least Conte's won league title after league title.
We compete for the trophies. We don't always win them, but at least we give it a sporting goal.
I've got a question. Would you take him at Arsenal? Would you take Inzaghi at Arsenal right now? You trade in Arteta, you bring in Inzaghi right now. Would you do it?
Arteta's going for the process, man.
So he doesn't believe his chat then? He doesn't back his chat? If Inzaghi's better than Conte, you wouldn't bring him in right now? Of course you would. If you thought he was better than Conte, come on.
I think the point that you wanted to make, though, James, was just that we acknowledge the great job that Inzaghi has done. Is that correct?
Yeah, because you know what football fans are like. You lose a final 5-0 like on the grandest stage, that's going to follow you for the rest of your life. Like, look at Scolari, lost 7-1 the semi-finals. People forget he even won the World Cup.
Yeah. Do you know who really struggled? I think the reason why Unai Emery is, I'm not saying this with any disrespect, but the reason why Unai Emery isn't at one of the most recognisable clubs in world football isn't because of the talent, but it's because he was Paris Saint-Germain manager when they got that lead overturned. In Barcelona,
4-4 and all that.
I think that haunts him. The fact that he was the manager that allowed that to happen.
And his experience at Arsenal isn't great in terms of
that's true.
The Europa League final.
But I think a lot of what's happened to Unai Emery, which has resulted in him being at Villa, is because of the shadow that's put over his career by the Barcelona result. And I know what you're saying here, James. Inzaghi, this is going to follow Inzaghi around until the day that he wins the Champions League as a manager.
Yeah, I just really hope he doesn't go to Tottenham because
I thought he was going to Saudi. I thought he was going to be announced the day of the Champions League final. Have you heard any more on that, James? Inzaghi to Saudi?
Well, no, I haven't. I've heard potentially Saudi. I've heard potentially even Newcastle.
We'll have to wait and see. James, thank you so much for your call. It's great that somebody's just called up in order to just wax lyrical and acknowledge the contribution of a losing manager. James, I love that you've done that. Thank you so much for your time and getting in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you, mate.
Hope to speak to you again soon. Good call there.
Over Conte, that's the only thing that got me about the call. I couldn't believe it.
Do you know what though? I think we went into the weeds a bit with the Conte over Conte, because I probably agree with you. I'd say not over Conte. Serial league.
Over Simeone.
Yeah, no, I'd say Conte is better. I'd agree with you.
What, Conte's better than Simeone?
Yeah.
Is Simeone better than Inzaghi?
Conte is better.
No, is Simeone better than Inzaghi?
Simeone is better than Inzaghi.
So Inzaghi's in around that 5th or 6th mark, which is amazing.
But I think that we got bogged down into it, and it's my fault because I said rank them for us, James. Whereas I think all James really wanted to do, which was a far more noble approach to the call.
Yeah.
All he wanted to do was go, can we acknowledge how brilliant the contribution from Inzaghi is? Yeah. Let's just talk about the fact that he's £100 million up when Paris Saint-Germain are £500 million down. And I think it was a great call, worthy of conversation. And I skewed it into the
No,
abyss.
I did too as well. I just couldn't believe a Conte.
Yeah, it was a noble. It was a
brilliant call.
Yeah, thank you very much, James. Should we go back to the phone lines now?
I've got Reese, big Liverpool fan. How are you doing, Reese?
Hello, how's it going?
How are you, Reese? Good to
speak
to you.
Yeah, doing good. I've got a question for all of you, and it's quite an intriguing question actually, based on the season that we've just had. So it was quite an interesting season this year with a lot of different teams winning trophies that haven't necessarily won them in recent times or in some cases ever. You got PSG with the Champions League, you got Palace winning the FA Cup, Newcastle winning the League Cup, you've got Spurs winning the Europa League,
Paris Saint-Germain.
and to a degree, you could even talk about Liverpool's first Premier League title in front of the fans. Does leave me with a rather interesting question for all of you. Who do you think will be the next team to break a long-term trophy drought or even get their first trophy, and why?
It's a very, very good question. I've got an
clubs.
idea.
I've got two clubs.
Because I'm not going to go to the classic Forest and Villa because they have won silverware. Bournemouth, right? In terms of winning the League Cup, the FA Cup, the manager looks like he's going to stay. They've got a fantastic side that he did very well last season with a lot of injuries. They might lose their left back, Kerkez. They keep Semenyo. They got the Brazil number 9 down the middle. Why couldn't they win the League Cup next season?
Yeah, I think it's a good shout. I love this kind of question as well.
Yeah, it's a great question.
Do you know we're going left field here, aren't we? We're going left field, so we're not going for like an obvious
sides that have maybe never won a trophy.
Because you said not Villa, and Villa, like I feel like Villa are almost a shoo-in for the Europa League next year. If you're a Villa fan, I think they should almost book your tickets to Istanbul now. Similarly, I think Forest have got a great shout of winning the Conference League.
Yeah, that's a good.
Great shout of winning the Conference League.
Yeah,
but are we looking a little bit more left field than that?
Anything domestically?
Well, okay, if
we're
not,
could they have a run? They've been, Brentford. Could they win an FA Cup?
What about Sleeping Giant? What about? So you've gone for the teams that have been consistently knocking on the door in terms of like Premier League status now. They've got their Premier League survival assured. They've had some very good seasons. They're looking to build. What about a Leeds United winning some silverware? What about a Sunderland winning some silverware?
I don't know about that.
No?
They'll be focused on the Premier League so heavy, won't they? And they might be getting banged every week. I know what you're saying.
So what you think Brentford
40 years ago it should be. Leeds should be, they got 100 points in the Championship. They should be trying to win Division 1 now.
Yeah.
But they have to just focus on survival.
So who's your answer? Who have you gone for?
I'm going Bournemouth to have a League Cup run.
Bournemouth for a League Cup run.
Wolves. Why can't they have a run?
Brentford.
They're a big club. Brentford have been kicking about. If Brentford get relegated in 5 years' time, not saying they will, they're a fantastically well-run club. If they lose their talent, it's hard to replenish it all the time.
I've constantly
They'll look back and think, oh, fuck it, I wish we'd
I've constantly been saying
run.
about these clubs, Booth. Yeah, I've constantly been saying about Brighton, Brentford. I was like, it's unsustainable, surely, but they prove me wrong every season.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know what you mean. Like, in theory, who would you rather be?
Swansea have got that League Cup win. Wigan have got it.
Wigan. Who would you rather be? Swansea or Wigan? And have had that historic moment going into Europe. Portsmouth going into Europe.
Yeah.
Or just a Brentford who forever perennially play in the Premier League.
Come in the top 10 every year.
What's better? Wigan?
Not probably Swansea. Wigan have got such deep financial issues, haven't they?
Yeah.
I think
they beat Man City in a Wembley
Brentford are a very
final.
well-run club. You could argue I'd rather be a Brentford fan for the next 20 years because I know it's going to be a sustainable project. But Swansea are still a decent
something
club.
about could you imagine being a Wigan fan that was in the stadium though? The day that it happened when they beat Man City when Watson scored, you would have basically just gone if you're a Wigan fan. I don't care what happens from here on out.
No.
You're a Portsmouth fan that year.
Palace fan this year.
Palace fan. I don't care what happens.
But you can relegate Palace this season and they'd be happy with it.
Yeah, 100%.
100%.
I'm gonna stick with my originals though. One of those
Villa, Forest
clubs. Yeah, Villa, Forest. Well, I think they're both going to win in Europe. I think they've both got a great chance of winning in Europe.
Yeah,
so we'll see. It's a really good question, Reese. What's your shout for it?
I think personally, I fancy Brighton out of all of the teams, because if I look at Brighton this season, I think Brighton will probably be quite disappointed in the end with the season that they had.
Mate, they'll be heartbroken. They'll be heartbroken as well because they had to watch Crystal Palace win silverware.
Yeah.
You know, when they were the ones that were playing in Europe, they were the ones that were knocking on the door. They were the ones beating Ajax. And they've now watched their biggest rivals win silverware before them.
Yeah, and it certainly will be quite heartbreaking for them. And they'll be quite determined to go again next year, especially with how strong they finished this season. I think if they can carry that momentum into next year, they could so easily go on one of those League Cup, FA Cup runs.
Amazing.
And do what Palace did this year and do what Newcastle did this year. It'd be quite exciting.
100%.
No doubt. Reese, another fan. We've had some great callers today. Reese, that was sensational. You really got us talking and thinking there. Call back, sir.
Thank you very much. Look
forward to speaking to you again soon. Thank you very much.
Thank
Reese.
you, mate.
I've thoroughly enjoyed that.
Yeah, it's a great question.
Should we dive into the voice notes? By the way, I just need to let you all know, if you want to get in touch with us and you maybe don't have the time and the time doesn't necessarily work for you, you can simply leave us a voice note and we could react to your voice note and you could be live on the club. All the information that you need, totally thanks to Sky Bet, is in the description below. We're going to dive into the voice notes now and let's listen to the first one from Vernon.
Hi, my name is Vernon. I'm actually from the United States. I'm a PSG fan, but I follow a lot of the Premier League. And I just want to ask you guys, who do you think is better and who do you think would win between Prime United, so probably that era from 2011 or 2007 to 2011, or Prime Man City, probably the 2018 to 2022 era? Who do you guys just think is better? Who do you guys think would win in a one-off?
That's easy, isn't it?
What do you reckon?
So easy. When have they ever met as managers? Pep versus Fergie. They've met in 2 finals. What happened? Fergie got smashed. Sorry, I'm answering the question for you.
He had Lionel Messi, didn't he?
Well, Ferguson had Ronaldo, one of them. So Wayne Rooney, who's apparently the best English player of all time, but he got absolutely decimated in a way that we've never seen before.
Do you think,
probably since the Champions League final this season.
Good question from the Playboy Carty. It's a very good question. But I like this. Thank you for getting this in, Vernon. Really appreciate it. What about player for player? Yeah, you've immediately gone for the managers. What about if you did a combined 11 of the best Fergie team? Let's go the 08 team compared to the Man City team, which would be the
23
team.
Yeah, I can already tell you it's going to be 7 or 6 or 7 Man United over Man City.
What, you think it'd be majority United, but City would win the game because of the manager?
Yeah, but you look at any of the Champions League finals, Barcelona, Man United. Valdez was in goal. So you say Van der Sar, Abidal, Puyol. You think about Pedro wouldn't get in the Man United side, but as a side, they absolutely bullied them in a way that we'd never seen before. So I don't do combined 11s. The system is better than Fergie's system. Pep's a far better coach than Fergie on a tactical level. He'd outsmart him in the final.
Well, there we go. It's annoying that Adam McKola not here to argue because I know that he disagrees with every word you just said. But in his absence, it's 1-0. It's 1-0 Buvey.
Hi, my name is Ayan, and I support Liverpool. And my question is, do English players get overhyped too early?
Yeah, it's easy, isn't it? I think.
Is it easy, or is it an English thing? Because if you think about how we talk about Desiree Doué now, or Yamal, or are we doing it to English players more than we're doing it to other players?
If Doué was English, playing for Ipswich, doing what he was doing at Rennes before he went to PSG, he's £100 million. We're talking about, these English talents that I'm not talking about Cole Palmer or Foden. I'm talking about the drop just below that are going for like 30, 40, 50. Like Joe Bellingham going for 30 million quid and stuff like that. I think the English tax is real. The English tax is real.
I feel like we're quite harsh on English players as well. I feel like we don't necessarily. I feel like we don't necessarily rate them.
Do they get rated? Do they get overhyped too early? In the maybe you're right on a.
Like if you think about how Conor Gallagher was seen, people weren't particularly like. Conor Gallagher, when Tottenham were linked with him last year, I think it would have been a brilliant signing for Tottenham. It's exactly what Ange Postecoglou wanted. He's done really well in Atletico Madrid. Tuchel, like everyone loved him who's worked with him. And yet people see him as a bit of a workhorse, and I love him. But I don't necessarily think we're always kind to English talent, are we?
The transfer market is kind of that's my point.
Market.
I think the transfer as soon as Liam Delap has a good season, obviously
it was only 30 million because of the release clause. Yeah.
He's probably going for 75 million quid right now.
Yeah, it is interesting.
One good season, got relegated.
Yeah, it is an interesting. I'm going to have to think about this a bit more. I've loved this.
Yeah, it's been brilliant.
It's been brilliant. And thank you so much to everybody who's got involved, everybody who's contributed to the show. And a huge thank you to Sky Bet, who have made this show possible. It's my favourite part of the week. So if you want to get in touch next week, click the link in the description below, go onto Discord, and we can be speaking to you this time next week. Peace.